A bizarre and sinister-looking perfect black cube has terrified residents of a Texas town after it appeared in the skies above White Sands, the USA's most secret military installation. The terrifying black cube was photographed over El Paso. The black cube emerged in clouds over El Paso from what has been described as a black hole-type portal. Walter C. Lands, who captured the cube on his mobile phone, said, "It began to get very windy out, and I noticed a small portion of clouds begin to swirl and circle in on each other, forming a portal shape, at which point the portal became jet black."
Dave, imagine this. You have no power and no way of knowing when that power is going to be restored. Now, that's the reality for one disabled veteran living here in Radford who's left wondering why his neighbor has power, but he's still in the dark.
At nighttime, I curled up in under 5, maybe 10 blankets.
Richard Britton is a retired and handicapped veteran wondering why his power is still off after 3 days without it.
I called them yesterday or the day before. They said, oh, it'd be within 3 or 4 days. Fine dandy. Now, today I called them again, and they said the same thing again.
What has Britton baffled is that his home has no power and many of his neighbors do have power. Earlier this afternoon, DTE announced it restored power to 90% of the original roughly 800,000 that lost power during this week's devastating windstorm, and offered this explanation as to why some do and some don't have power in the same neighborhood.
When we start our work and we energize that circuit, in some cases we may bring up 995 customers on that circuit, and there may be 5 additional customers that weren't brought up. There may be some additional damage there that we didn't realize.
And it appears this could be the case in Britton's Redford neighborhood. And as he deals with no heat and no electricity, the disabled veteran has this message for DTE as they scramble to get the remaining customers offline back on the grid.
Help! I need help!
Back here live now again, all DTE customers are expected to be back online, electricity back on by the end of the day, Monday.
Jerry Young Newton is the pastor for the Freedom to Love Refuge Center in Covington.
All of those other classifications, it really doesn't matter. Just see them for the person that God made them.
Before opening Freedom to Love, he was a pastor at a church in Bogalusa. He founded it and started with just about a dozen members. It grew to 300 in about 9 years. But in September, he let his church know a secret he had been hiding from them. He's gay.
That was difficult for them to handle, so the aftermath of that really ended up in closing that ministry.
He had been hiding another secret, his relationship with his partner, now husband Jody. For quite some time, no one knew about their love for each other in fear of what others would think.
It just pierces right through my soul.
But things are better at Freedom to Love. Their membership is growing.
This ministry is a vital heartbeat for our community. We need this type of ministry that will love on all God's people.
Vanessa Booty is a part of the church. She struggles with the recent killings of 2 transgender women in New Orleans.
Some people become angry because people are different and because they have not been taught how to love people just as they are.
But inside Freedom to Love, they want everyone to know labels do not exist here.
And the message that I really want people to get is, and we say this all the time, I made a decision that I would never be in a place where I'm tolerated. I'll always be in a place that I'm celebrated. And many times we attend church and we worship in ministries where people tolerate us, but they don't celebrate us.
Some U.S. hospitals are fighting off a potentially deadly fungus that doesn't always respond to drugs. More than 30 patients have been diagnosed with Candida auris, a fungal infection typically found in hospitals or similar places. A majority of people diagnosed with the fungus have died, but it's tough to know exactly how dangerous it is because the fungus has affected people who were already very ill. One concerning thing about Candida auris is some strains have been resistant to the 3 main types of antifungal drugs. Cases are starting to become more prevalent in the United States, particularly in the Northeast. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that 28 out of the 35 documented U.S. cases were in New York State. CDC officials said they're working to better understand Candida auris and told hospitals to keep an eye out for the fungus.
At least 38 people have been killed by Cyclone Enawo that struck Madagascar this week. According to the country's disaster management department, the cyclone caused enormous damage countrywide. An estimated 153,000 people have been displaced by waters caused by the storm. Enawo hit Madagascar's northeastern coast on Tuesday morning. It has destroyed roads and cut off communications with the Antalaha district.
Overseas tonight, the deadly twin bomb attacks in Syria, explosions ripping through the center of Damascus. At least 40 people killed visiting religious shrines, 120 wounded. The attacks targeting holy sites. Here's ABC's Jennifer Eccleston.
The bloody debris from the blasts litter the streets of Damascus. Buses riddled with shrapnel, a mangled wheelchair among the wreckage. The attackers striking Shiite tourists from Iraq visiting a holy site. At least 40 are dead, more than 100 injured. This Iraqi lucky to be alive. We finished the visit and then the explosions happened, he says. People near me were all killed. No one has yet to claim responsibility. But ISIS has attacked Shiite shrines in the Syrian capital before. More than 60 people died in a bombing last year.
There are signs Pyongyang could be laying the groundwork for the biggest nuclear test to date. According to U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North, the regime is excavating a tunnel at its Punggye-ri nuclear test site, which may support an explosion up to 14 times more powerful than the latest one. There has been increased activities at the area where the last 4 of the 5 underground tests by the communist state were conducted. Experts say the excavation will allow the Hermit Kingdom to support additional underground nuke tests of more than 280 kilotons, a much grander scale than the latest one in September 2016, coming in at some 20 kilotons.
Somewhere out there, aliens might be using huge, mysterious bursts of energy to sail ships through space. No, this isn't some UFO conspiracy. It's a new theory from a pair of Harvard scientists who've been studying fast radio bursts. Those are sudden flashes of radio pulses from beyond our galaxy that our radio telescopes only catch glimpses of. The new theory goes something like this. A super advanced alien species is using these incredibly powerful bursts of energy to push themselves around the universe on light sails. Essentially, these theoretical aliens are riding a sailboat through outer space, and they're creating wind for their sails, but scientists think the sailboat might be the size of a planet, and that's why the bursts of energy are so big. It's not as crazy as it may sound. Solar sails are a project we humans have been working on for a while, and some scientists think they're the best option we have for interstellar spaceflight. The theory is pretty fantastical. Even the authors admit that. They say they just want to put the idea out there and let the data judge it later.
And we begin with the security breach at the White House, the first known breach since President Trump took office. An intruder carrying a backpack climbing the fence just before midnight, arrested on the South grounds near the entrance to the residence. President Trump inside the White House at the time, today praising the Secret Service for their quick work. The breach under investigation as authorities reveal more about what the intruder was allegedly carrying. ABC's Gloria Riviera leads us off.
Tonight, an alleged intruder is in custody after that breach at the White House while the president was at home. The incident happened just before midnight Friday night, when a fence jumper wearing a backpack scaled a fence approximately 6 feet tall.
The intruder had to make it over the perimeter fence right there with spikes on the top meant to keep people out.
Court documents say he then made his way onto the grounds, hid behind a pillar, and approached the south portico entrance, not far from the east wing, where the first family's residence is located. The fence scaler was then stopped and questioned, allegedly telling the agent he was a friend of the president and had an appointment. This video from that time shows the lights on the south lawn suddenly turning on as he was apparently discovered. The Secret Service arrested 26-year-old Jonathan Tran from California without incident. Authorities say he was carrying 2 cans of mace and a letter to President Trump that mentioned Russian hackers. He also reportedly told authorities he was schizophrenic. Today at lunch, President Trump thanking the Secret Service.
Secret Service did a fantastic job. It was a troubled person.
Tonight, the first breach of the White House during the Trump administration is under investigation.
This is supposed to be one of the safest places in the world. How can people keep jumping over this fence?
Because this fence is short enough that literally anybody that's able-bodied can get over the fence.
This flag-wearing intruder scaled the fence on Thanksgiving Day in 2015. The Secret Service surrounded him and took him into custody. And this man, carrying a knife, sprinted across the lawn and was caught just after he got all the way inside.
Next tonight, major developments from the White House. Our correspondent asking President Trump, where is the proof? Nearly 1 week after that explosive claim that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower before the election. And there are major developments tonight about Michael Flynn, who resigned as national security advisor. Was he receiving money to lobby on behalf of a foreign government, even as he was sitting in on intelligence briefings here in the U.S.? Our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, tonight.
The House Intelligence Committee has given the Justice Department an ultimatum: turn over all evidence, if any exists, that President Obama had Trump Tower wiretapped. The deadline, Monday. President Trump made the extraordinary allegation without providing any proof. Today, we asked him for some.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Press. Thank you. You guys, please. Thank you, Press.
Mr. President, any proof at all on the wiretap?
Thank you, Press. Thank you.
Very much, Press.
Thank you. Please head out behind you. Thank you.
Are you going to provide any
Please
proof?
FBI Director James Comey, who briefed congressional leaders behind closed doors, has privately urged the Justice Department to say the wiretapping didn't happen. It comes as the department is investigating Russia's meddling in the election and any ties to the president's aides. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn was fired last month for misrepresenting the nature of his conversations with the Russian ambassador. And now, another controversy. We've learned that at the height of the presidential campaign, a company with ties to Turkey hired Flynn to promote the interests of the Turkish government. This came shortly after Flynn's fiery speech at the Republican convention.
Lock her up. That's right. That's right. Lock her up.
3 weeks later, Flynn's firm was hired by the Turkey-connected company and ultimately paid $530,000. He was simultaneously serving as a top advisor to the Trump campaign, sitting in on classified intelligence briefings. On Election Day, Flynn published an article declaring, "We need to adjust our foreign policy to recognize Turkey as a priority. We need to see the world from Turkey's perspective." This week, Flynn officially filed as a foreign agent for the work he did during the campaign. And that's how the White House says the president learned of his work on Turkey's behalf.
Are you saying the president was not aware that Lieutenant General Michael Flynn was acting as a foreign agent when he appointed him to be National Security Advisor?
Correct. Well, and just remember, you wouldn't know that until he filed. He didn't file till 2 days ago, so therefore nobody would have known that because he hadn't filed as a foreign agent until 2 days ago.
Still, the White House acknowledges Flynn's lawyers told lawyers for the Trump transition team that he might need to register as a foreign agent. But they insist Flynn never told Trump himself.
De kortstreek naar Duitsland te nemen.
Beyefendi buranın genel müdürü, yani buranın şefi, yüksek bakanlıklardan emir geldi. Sizin direkt Hollanda'yı terk etmeniz lazım.
Dan kunnen we bij escorteren.
Biz size eşlik edeceğiz. Özel tim geldi sizin için. Kendi arabanızla bizi takip ederek Almanya'ya gitmeniz. En kısa yol.
Ben konsolosluk binamıza gireceğim. Burası benim ülkemin binası ve ben bir ülkenin bakanıyım. Hiçbir uluslararası teamülde böyle bir şey yok. Bunu kabul etmiyorum, bunu reddediyorum.
We told them that we are against such a visit because this is a Turkish minister, and we don't think it is right for Turkish ministers to campaign in the Netherlands amongst Dutch people.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and reaction to the video is pretty mixed. You have some people that say, hey, this is the safest way to go when you're dealing with an unruly dog. Other people saying that it was actually cruel to tase that dog again and again. Now, I will tell you, the dog is alive tonight, but I'll warn you, if you are a dog lover, this is kind of difficult to watch.
Oh my God!
A dog on the ground. A Roseville police officer using a taser to gain control. The woman's voice you hear speaking tonight with 7 Action News about why she wants others to see this video.
I was shocked. I was outraged.
She's afraid to show her face because of the fallout that's quickly gaining steam since she originally posted this video online. But she wants everyone to see it. Since being shared shortly after 2, it is picking up steam. Thousands of people seeing it by the hour. This white dog you see being tased not once or twice, but more than 5 times. And the Roseville police chief tells me he's seen the video. It will be investigated, but until they look into it further, they are not making any comments. As for the woman who saw this unfold, she says she's disgusted by what she saw.
So they had to stop the dog somehow. So I understand that, but to continue to taser him after he was on the catch pole was just totally unnecessary.
And that's what that woman is so upset about tonight. She tells me she doesn't think that the officers were properly trained based on what she saw and the way they reacted to that dog. Now, she's not out for blood. She tells me she just wants to make sure those officers are being trained properly. Now, again, I did reach out to the police chief. We spoke by phone tonight. He said that they're not going to be commenting any further as of right now.
Governor Andrew Cuomo is getting New York ready for the snow blizzard expected to sweep the region starting Monday. He announced Sunday that the New York State Emergency Operations Center will be activated Monday evening with stockpiles of sandbags, generators, and pumps at the ready. The National Weather Service announced a blizzard watch for coastal regions including New York City and upstate New York. Forecasters say the first snow is expected in the city late Monday with up to 4 inches falling by dawn.